All right, so our opener today is going to be very similar to the quiz that you guys are going to take following the opener. The first part, you're going to solve proportion. The directions say solve for the variable in each proportion. If necessary, we're going to round it to the nearest thousandth. Then the second part is going to be solving proportion word problems. So let's take a look at just solving proportions though. When we go to solve proportions, the first step that I'm going to do is what? Cross multiply. So I'm going to take 8 times 6 and get... Now, do I have to start with the 8 times 6?
No.
No, what else could I do? Yeah, it doesn't really matter which one you do as long as you cross multiply. Then I'm going to cross multiply with my other two numbers, which is 25 times 10 and get 250. Good. Now I have a one-step equation. What I'm going to be looking for when you guys take your quiz today, I'm going to be looking that you set up your one-step equation, so you cross multiply and you end up with this. Then I'm going to look for the variable circled and your line of equality. So how do we get that variable by itself? And bring down my A equals, what's 250 divided by 6? 41.666, you said? So 41.66666. Now, our directions say we're going to round that to the nearest thousandth. So if I'm going to round that to the nearest thousandth, I have to determine which number is in my thousandths place value. So which number there, how many places past the decimal is going to be my thousandth spot? How many places past the decimal is my thousandth spot? How many? 3. So all the other numbers I can drop. I look to the right of that thousandth spot though and determine is that 5 or greater? Yeah. So then my answer is going to round to 41.667. So that's my final answer. Now, you could go ahead next to the orange here, if you just want to put equals and then your rounded answer there and box it all together, that's fine. I was just making my answer look a little cleaner. So, like what Joey did here on hers is completely fine. So she just put them all on the same line. I'll grab that. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. So we have 3/8 equals 12 over b plus 7. All right, first thing I'm going to do is what, Nick? Good. So the way to look at this, you don't have to rewrite it like this, is that you're going to distribute that 3 with the b plus 7. Remember, distribute, whatever number's on the outside, we multiply by the same on the inside. So what's 3 times b? And then 3 times positive 7. Plus 21, right? Okay, cross multiply the other direction. 12 times 8. 96. Did you say 96? All right. What kind of equation is this? Pencil? Yeah, it's on my keyboard. Two-step equation, so I circle my variable. Draw my line of equality. Which number do I get rid of first? So I subtract 21 from both sides. What do I bring down on my left? And on my right?
75.
Okay. Divided by, how do I get the b by itself? We divide it by 3. 75 divided by 3. So I do not need to round that one. That is your final answer. Good. After we go through the open, we'll pass them out. Any questions on these two? So you are going to have a problem like this where you're going to have to remember, you don't just multiply the 3 times b. It's like distributing. You need to distribute that 3 with everything that's on the opposite side of that ratio. Okay, backside, some of you guys' favorite, word problems. I think the best notes to help you remember what to do with solving proportional word problems is your worksheet that I gave you. Worksheet 5.9. If you guys have that, I'd recommend getting that out. So worksheet 5.9, we're going to use those steps to help us determine what we need to do in order to solve this word problem here. So on my worksheet, at the very top in the directions, it gives me 4 steps that I'm going to do. The first step says, set up a ratio of units. What does ratio of units mean?
like, is it like?
And it's like gelatin.
Yeah,
It's a comparison.
yeah, compare a fraction, which is a comparison of two things or two units. It's basically the two things that we're trying to talk about in this word problem. So if you read it, if 6 students can do 20 math problems during lunch, well, right there it's talking about the 2 units that we need to determine. So what 2 things are they talking about?
Students and math problems.
So students and math problems. So my ratio of units is students and math problems, or you can just write problems. Now, what if you wrote problems first and students on the bottom? Is that okay? Yeah. You're just going to have to set up your ratios different. So then that was step 1. Step 2 on your worksheet says set up a proportion. So we're going to set up a proportion based on 2 ratios. The first one is going to be the information that we know. So when I do word problems, I go back through and I underline the numbers that I see. So we see 6 students, 20 math problems, 9 students. So if 6 students can do 20 math problems during lunch, how many math problems can 9 students do? So my first ratio is the things that I know. So what do I know?
6 students.
So 6 students goes where?
On top.
Okay. What else do I know?
20 math.
And that goes on.
The bottom.
Good. How many of you guys like to keep things organized? All this is doing is organizing. All your students stay organized on the top. All your problems stay organized on the bottom. Or any type you do your ratio of units. All the same units are at the top. All the other similar units are on the bottom. So now we're going to go to our unknown. What we don't know. What we're going to find out. So then it goes on to ask, how many math problems could 9 students do? So what part of that ratio do we know?
9 students.
And that goes where?
Uh,
So what are we trying to find then?
who can do the most math problems?
Yeah, how many problems they can do. Because it's problems, I'm going to use the variable p. You can use any variable you choose to. I just try to use a variable that's similar to my ratio of unit. So that was step 2. Step 3 now says solve the proportion. Well, we know how to solve proportions. We just did it on the first 2 questions. So the first part when I solve a proportion is to... Now, when I cross multiply, when I do word problems, I personally like to cross multiply where the variable is going to be first because it's easier to fit my units on my answer. Because remember, when we do word problems, you have to have, along with your answer, what unit it's talking about. So I'm going to cross multiply where my variable is going to be first. So I have my equal signs again. 6 times p is
16.
equals 20 times 9.
180.
And now I'm to my one-step equation. Talk me through it, you guys.
You divide by 6.
Woo!
So I give you a variable like lined up.
I didn't do all that on my paper.
Okay.
On both sides.
Wow. Like, man, do we really have to go back to first try it again? Divide by 6 on both sides.
And that gets you P equals 30 math problems.
Okay, you can put 30 math problems or 30 problems. As long as you have 30 and some type of unit that goes with it, it'd be correct. Now, if you put 30 students, you're not going to get full credit because we already know how many students there are. I want to know the correct unit with it. Okay. Questions?